Hi there, I'm Stephanie Shanti. I'm going to show you a really easy way of doing some myofascial release with just a yoga block and maybe a blanket as well. Some people prefer a blanket over the top to make it less intense. So the area that we're going to work on is the armpit area. So the front of the armpit is kind of created by the pec major, which you can see here on my friend Skelly. We've got pec major attaching to the sternum here, a bit of the clavicle, and coming and attaching on the upper arm. So it kind of creates this armpit, and it enables you to do movements such as taking your arm back in different orientations. So different kind of fibers allow it to stretch in different directions. The back of the armpit is mainly formed by latissimus dorsi, which is kind of a back muscle, but it really moves the arms. It's one of the key players in kind of moving from down dog to plank, bringing the arms down and back. So this is kind of attaching to a bit of the iliac crest, the lower back, coming up to the mid-thoracic, reaching over to the bottom tip of the shoulder blade and attaching to the front of the arm there. So it kind of like is pulling the arm down towards the lower back. So this forms the back armpit. So we can target them by having a block under the armpit. But another set of muscles that I really love while we're here anyway in this kind of area is the serratus, which is not under the armpit. It's kind of like the side rib area. Serratus anterior, they run underneath the shoulder blade, but they run from this medial border of the shoulder blade, under the shoulder blade, and attach here at the side ribs. So they kind of are a key player in moving the shoulder blade round towards the front. So kind of thinking of a angry cat pose or a crow pose, kind of any time when the shoulder blades are moving away from each other, you're kind of pulling that shoulder blade forward. But also because they attach on the medial border, they pull that medial border flat to the back so they can be key players in preventing too much winging of the shoulder blades. So they get a bit tight and the pec gets very tight, the latissimus gets tight. You'll feel it all. And this is kind of the missing piece of the puzzle for yoga. So a lot of yoga is myofascial release, but a lot of yoga is stretching and strengthening the muscles, which they absolutely love. What myofascial release does is adds like a bit of targeted compression. So much like, a massage therapist pressing into the muscles, which you'll get, imagine lying down on the floor and doing windscreen wiping with your legs side to side. You are getting some compression and massage in the lower back. So a lot of yoga does have myofascial release. But with a few little tools and techniques, we can really target these areas of tightness with this compression and this kind of like helping with the hydration, which means that then we can help that muscle to perform better. So we can help with strength building if that muscle is weak, and we can also help with stretching it out. So you can do some experiments with myofascial release, doing the myofascial release and then loading or stretching or strengthening that muscle, doing myofascial release and then doing a nice big stretch, and just seeing how it affects. Myofascial release can be a great thing pre-stretching, pre-strength loading, but also post to help you kind of release tension in the muscles to prevent too much of that delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. So it's one of these amazing techniques. So all you need is a yoga block and a blanket. I'm going to move my skeleton out of the way now. And you start on your side. You may want extra padding under your hips. So you have your yoga block sideways on, and this is on its middle height. So this would be low height, medium height, high height, medium height. You're going to have it there, and if there's a lot of tension, you're going to want some padding over it. It's not worth fighting with these tissues. It's not worth going to places of pain. It's really, you want to have this kind of medium pressure, something you work with, something you could soften into. You don't want to be bracing against it. This is really hard to get through to our students, especially kind of athletes, or strong people that want, pain. They want to feel that they're getting in. But the more you do it, the more you realize, less is more, and we want to just kind of chill out. We're going to bring that right into the armpit and bring the hand on the head. I mean, it's to lie like a goddess on the floor. And straight away, if you lean back, you're going to be in the back area of the latissimus. And if you roll forward, you're going to feel that front edge of the yoga block kind of in that area of the thickening of the pec muscle, where it thickens and folds over and becomes the armpit. So just by rolling forwards and backwards, we can feel that the area we're on. Now, sometimes the back portion is tricky, and by kind of rolling backwards and forwards a little bit over those back fibers, you can actually feel the side of the latissimus just kind of getting a little bit squished or kind of clunking over that muscle, and that's just helping it to release a little bit. So that's quite nice, that latissimus. Or you might be able to find a spot that's kind of a little bit tender, definitely not painful, and you might be able to just hold there. So that'd be static compression, all this kind of rolling across, just helping to kind of renew the fluid in the fascia there. And that's how to target the latissimus. You don't really need much, and it's quite easy. People usually find this themselves. I use this on all sorts of people. It's quite straightforward to explain. It's quite easy to feel. So then let's see if we can target more the pec muscle. So as I roll forward, I'm actually going to come so that the front, so I've got the front of the block here, the back of the block near to my arm, front of the block here. So that front corner is going to be pressing into the pec. And then if I got enough room to drop my head down, then I'll literally have that junction of the block pressing into a really interesting pressure point. You can normally feel it. It's just kind of like in the dip on Skelly, it would be kind of this dip where there's not much going on. That is a really nice trigger point for the pec. So what we don't want is to feel kind of too much tingling in the arm. It means that we might be on a nerve there. You just adjust your position. You don't want numbness or tingling. But dull, achy sensations, very nice. Pain, no. Dull, achy sensations, yes. So you might have to get something to rest your head on. It might not be able to go straight down. I rest my head on my hands. You could make kind of fists with your hands and be a bit higher up so that you can adjust the intensity so that it's nice and comfy. You could get another blanket over your block to make it even more squishy. The blanket is going to make the surface area a bit kind of bigger and softer and less pointy. If I've just got the block, I've literally got one corner of the block pressing into that trigger point. So that's going to be more intense. I can also add some movement here, kind of shearing, actually getting the pec muscle to work. So I can lift the elbow up and just move the arm forward and back. And I'm actually just kind of pinning down the superficial fascia and forcing the muscle to move. So that restores some of the gliding between the layers of the fascia. So that is the pec. And then what we can do is just lift up a little bit and bring that block so it's on the side ribs. Again, I can have my hand on the block or a hand on the floor, and I'm going to just start to roll backwards and forwards and see if I can find that those kind of serrated, so the serratus anterior is called serratus because it's got these serrated edges. It kind of comes under the shoulder blade and then finishes here like scissors. So like my fingertips here would be the end. So as I kind of push back, I'm pushing the padding back. I'm actually kind of just like giving a squeeze to the ends of those serrations there, the attachment points on the ribs. And sometimes you feel this really strongly, sometimes not. And again, without the blanket, it's going to be a much harder layer. So if you haven't got much sensation there, you might want to go a bit more targeted. If it's very tender, you might want, you could do this on a bolster instead, a foam roller with a blanket over the top, or get more blankets. We want a meaningful interaction with the tissues, nothing too intense. And that's it. So then you come up, you only need 30 to 60 seconds in each area. And so what we can see now is the difference. So feel for yourself as you take your arm back, and I can see and feel that this arm that I've done is going way back. You can see it in the film. And then diagonal, again, lots of movement in this side. I can hit resistance, and that side coming up the same. And then with the serratus, it's quite nice to feel that stretch in the rib cage. So the side you've done is probably feeling nice and open. It's quite incredible, the difference. And latissimus is going to let me take my hands down and back. This is also pec. And again, I feel really nice and free in the area I've done. So you can use like tester poses to kind of see first, do the movements first, then do one side, repeat the movements, see what's happened, do the other side, repeat the movements, see what's happened. And I bet you will find some quite staggering results in not only in your own body, but in the body of your students as well. So I hope that was useful. And I do take requests. So if you want to stay tuned for the next one, let me know what you're interested in, and I will see you soon.